As always, before we get started with the actual video, if you like this video, click the like button. If you want to comment, please do, and any questions are welcome as well. If you want to share this video with friends, family, colleagues, anybody really, then please do share this. And make sure you subscribe so that you get all the latest tutorials and information that are coming up later. So now it's time for us to move on to the presentation of this Juniper Configuring Static Routes video tutorial. Welcome everybody to this tutorial on static routes. So let's have a look at the pros and cons of static routes within a networking environment. So what are the pros for using static routes? Well, they're easy to implement in a small network. As stated here, there's no need to waste the overhead of a dynamic protocol if it's not actually required. So if you've only got a couple of systems that you need just a couple of routes to each other, you're much better off just implementing static routes rather than a dynamic protocol. They're very secure. No advertisements are sent as per dynamic routing protocols. That means that no hacker can get at information that might be being sent between systems that are running a particular dynamic routing protocol. They're very predictable. And what I mean by that is the route to the destination is always the same. It's always going to be the same because it is static and we've configured it as static. It cannot change as per a dynamic routing protocol. And there's no routing algorithm or update mechanisms required. So actually, the extra CPU and memory that a dynamic routing protocol may require from a resource perspective are not required for a static route. So now let's have a look at the cons for using static routes. They're only really useful, as I've already stated, in a small topology environment. Now the exception to this is going to be if we need to configure a static default route. We're not going to do that or touch that in this particular tutorial. It's slightly more advanced and we'll go into that default route mechanism requirement when we look at dynamic protocols. Configuration complexity increases as the network grows. That should be self-explanatory. As the network gets bigger, you're going to have to manage pure static routes, and it can become very time-consuming and counterproductive. One of the most important is, what if a static route next hop link fails? And what we mean by next hop, which you will see in the configuration process, is the next upstream link for that static route. So if that link fails, then the static route cannot reroute traffic. You're going to have manual intervention at this point. So with all the pros and cons looked at, let's go ahead and have a quick look at the topology that we're going to utilize in this tutorial. Here is the topology that we're going to utilize for this tutorial. We're going to utilize 3 times VMX that are going to be running on EVE-NG, which in turn is running on vmWare Workstation Pro. So the 3 systems are going to be labeled as Tutorial, Tutorial 1 and Tutorial 2. Between Tutorial and Tutorial 1 in a previous lesson on aggregated Ethernet, which you can view, we have already configured this. So for this particular tutorial, we have configured another aggregated Ethernet between Tutorial and Tutorial 2. The only other added section that we have on here is the loopback addresses with a /32 mask so that they create their own subnets. With that being said, let's move on to the actual configuration work. So here we are at the configuration screen. So let's do a show configuration on each system so that you can see what's there. And we'll do it in a display set. This is configuration 1. As you can see, we've put in AE1 on tutorial so that we have a link to tutorial 2 as well as tutorial 1. On tutorial 1, we have our link to tutorial. As we can see, it's descripted as well. And on tutorial 2, we have, let's do a show configuration, and we'll do it as a display set. We have our link, our aggregated Ethernet to tutorial from tutorial 2. So the important thing to note here is that we have the loopback interfaces set on each system, as you can see. So 100 on tutorial, 110 on tutorial 1, and 120 on tutorial 2. So the important thing is, what loopback addresses can we actually see? So if we were to do a show root on tutorial, which is the middle system, we only see the local loopback. We don't see any other loopback. On tutorial 1, we only see the local loopback. And on tutorial 2, we only see the local loopback. So the first thing that we're going to do is on tutorial, we're going to put in a static route to the loopback of tutorial 1 and then tutorial 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go into edit mode, or configure private, or configure exclusive. So let's set, and we do routing options, and we want a static route. So we put static and we put static route. Where do we want to go to? Well, we know that on 66, which is tutorial 1, the loopback is this address. So we can pick this address. So let's pick that address. We're going to paste it in here. Now, the important bit is the next hop. So the next hop for us is going to be the interface that connects directly to tutorial. And we know that that's AE1. So the actual address that we want is this address here, 100.2. So we're going to put that in. So we're going to put 192.168.100.2, and we'll enter that, and we'll commit that. So the commit is complete, and now we can do another run because we're in config mode, show root. And now we see that 110 is in there. Now, can we ping 110? So let's try. And yes, we can. So that's the static route in one direction. So now let's go to 167, which is tutorial 2, and we're going to have a look at what we see in here. So we know that the local one is 120, 120, 120. So let's grab a copy of that. We'll go back to tutorial, and we're going to do a set routing options, static route to 120, 120, 120, 120. And the next hop for this one, again, is going to be the interface that connects to tutorial, which is 200.1. So we're going to put in here 200.1, so 192.168.200.1, and we're going to commit that. Now let's have a look at our run show route and see if we see that in there. And we do. We see the 120 in there now. So let's see if we can ping that address. 120.120. Can we ping it? Yes, we can. Okay, so that's the quite simple static routes. out of the way, and we're now about to see how complicated it could become when we're talking about multiple systems. So the big question is now, can 66, or if you like, tutorial 1, ping across tutorial to tutorial 2's interface, loopback interface? Well, the way we can prove that is we can do a show route, and no, it doesn't exist in the routing table. So therefore, how can we get to that system? And we also don't have 100 in there. So the first thing we can do is let's go into edit mode and we'll set a route, set routing options, static route. And this time we want to go to, first of all, we'll go to tutorials 100 address. So we'll take that, we'll pop that in here, and the next hop is going to be the AE0 interface address, which is going to be 100.1. So we'll put 100.1 in there, 192.168.100.1. And we're going to commit that. And now we'll have a look again. We're in config mode, so we have to do the run show route. Let's have a look. Now we have the 100 in there. So let's see if we can ping that. So we run ping 100.100.100.100. Yes, we can. Can 67 or tutorial 2 ping it? Well, it won't be able to, because currently at the moment it can only see its own loopback. So we have to do the same here. So we do a set routing options static route, and let's take the actual interface that we want. We'll highlight that. That's the loopback of tutorial and the next hop for this one. So let's look for the next hop. So locally we have 200.1, which means it's going to be 200.2. So we're doing 192.168.200.2. And we'll commit that. And let's have a look. Run show route. Do we see it in the routing table? Yes, we do. So now we should be able to ping this. So we do a run ping 100.100.100.100, and we can ping it. Now again, the problem we've got is that we now need to get from tutorial 1 to tutorial 2, which is across tutorial. So it's 2 hops away. So let's do a run show route. And we don't have it in there. We don't have 120, 120, 120, 120. So let's do a set. I'm about to show you what the issue is with static routes. Routing options, static route. And we want 120.120.120.120 / 32 next hop. And the next hop address is going to be 100.1. So 192.168.100.1. And we'll commit that. So we've committed that. So let's have a look at a run show route and see if we've got it in the routing table. We do. We now have that in the routing table. The big question is, can we ping it? Run ping 120.120.120.120. And the answer is no, we can't. So if we go to tutorial 2 and we set a route up for the loopback on tutorial 1, so we do set routing options, static route 110.110.110.110 / 32 next hop here is .2 because .1 is local. Look. So we do 192.168.200.2 and we'll commit that. And if we do a run show route, we see it in the routing table. However, we also will not be able to ping this. Now, why can't we ping this? There's a very, very simple reason as to why we cannot ping this. So if we go back to tutorial 1, in the routing table, do we see the 200 network? The 200 network is the AE1 link between tutorial and tutorial 2. No, we don't. We only see the local link. So what we have to do is we have to put a static route into that network as well. So let's do that now. So we do a set routing options static route 192.168.200.0/30 if you remember, and the next hop. What's the next hop? Well, locally it's .2 look, so therefore it has to be .1, 192.168.100.1, and we will commit that. So we commit that and we do a run show route. Let's make sure it's still in the routing table, and it is. There's 120. It's still in the routing table. 192.168.200.0 is now in the routing table. So let's do a run ping 120.120.120.120, and we still can't ping it. Now, why can we not ping that? The answer is quite simple. The ping packet is getting there, but it's got no way of getting back. It doesn't know how to respond. It cannot send the echo responses. So we now have to put this route here, and we'll copy this, and we'll put it into tutorial 2. So now we're going to set a route to the 100 network at the far end. So we'll do a set routing options, static route 192.168.100.0/30, and the next hop is going to be this address here. So we'll commit this, and we'll go back to tutorial 1, and we're going to try again. And now we get a response. So you can see just in a 3 router network how many static routes are required and what you have to think about to get everything running in each direction. Now, if you have any questions regarding this, please put it in the messages and I'll do my very best to respond. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe, hit that subscribe button, because you'll get the very latest videos, the very latest tutorials and information from us. Have a great day. Thank you very much for listening.